thing in. Then secondly, we have tier 2 accounts. And this is the vendors we'll be using there are Marketron and V Digital Services. So regarding Marketron, some of you on the phone already have Marketron. So those that are new to our company or new to Marketron know that you'll be booking all your extended reach display, video, CTV, OTT, social, SEM, email, and audio through the Marketron system. Notice the asterisk with audio. Audio will be available in Q4 of 2020. V Digital Services is the second vendor that we'll be working with. Your DSM and IDS got information on how to activate SEO and SMM campaigns last Thursday. So these are the two different vendors that we'll be working with. For your purposes, I think it's important, or we think it's important for you to understand generally how much money will flow through Marketron. When you look at 2019 Audience Extension ad product breakdown through the Agency Services Group in Austin, you can see that 93% of all the revenue went to things like SEM, display, digital video, OTT, email, social, and audio. And then about 7% went to SEO and SMM, social media management. So this would point everyone to the direction of Marketron. So with Marketron, all television AEs, TV managers, digital sales managers, and IDSs will have their own login to Marketron. And that's what we're going to introduce you to here today. After this call, your DSM has every single, or your IDS has all the logins for every television account executive. So you'll be able to log into the Marketron Pitch product right after this call. The TV AEs will be trained and have access to Marketron Pitch only, whereas the DSMs and IDSs have been trained on V Digital Services and how to activate the Tier 1 strategic account team for order entry, and will be expected to be the subject matter experts on their products and processes, and they'll pass that on to you. So today we're going to talk about Marketron, and there's no better person to do it than JB Ozuna. JB, are you out there?
I'm here, Bill. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we sure can. JB, take it away.
Great. Well, thank you, and thanks for the introduction, and you know, welcome to everybody here today. We're certainly very excited to be working with you, you know, on a broader scale with either expanding your product suite and certainly expanding the number of markets that we're working with now. Marketron is based in Sun Valley, Idaho, and but our digital office for the most part is here in Denver, where I'm in today, or where I'm calling from today. You know, Brian spoke to this a little bit. Bill has spoken to it. You know, we believe this product shows better than it reads. So, you know, these slides that you see here today, you'll receive as a follow-up. But what we really like about Pitch, and what I would have loved to have had when I was on the station side or in a group role, is a product like this that enables all of you sellers to go from proposal to insertion order within a single tab. You know, for the most part, as Bill mentioned, there's a couple of products that we're looking to add down the road, but the core set of products that you're selling every day, that you're competing on every day, day in, day out with other stations, other media companies, you'll find within Pitch, and we think you'll find them very easy to use. So we're, you know, you've got a wide range of products. Sales enablement is a bit of a, you know, it's a catchphrase here, but, you know, we truly are putting the power and the selection at your fingertips within a browser tab. And then we're working behind the scenes to execute those orders, make sure you're pacing, make sure you deliver, help you find the renewal and incremental that comes in phase 2, phase 3 of your selling opportunities. And then talent development, you know, we're not leaving after today. There's a training schedule we'll walk through. You'll have access to online training resources and the like. Next slide, please, Bill. Products. Again, we'll talk through these a little bit more in detail. You'll kind of see them as we go through the demo. But, you know, your targeted display, geofencing, search keyword targeting, and retargeting from search history, digital video, geo video, search engine marketing, social media executed through those 3 channels, CTV, OTT, and email are all available to you through this team, and are what we're going to spend the next few weeks training and helping you migrate those orders through. And there's, like I said, there's no better way to learn about the product than to actually see pitch. So Steve Groenberry, who is our National Director of Sales Enablement, he's based in Austin, Texas. He's got a long career in digital, plus sales training and product development. He's going to run you through pitch. So take a look. This will be yours pretty soon, like Bill said, your logins, email, passwords, all of that set up. And Steve, take it away with the demo. Mic check, Steve.
Okay, here we go. JB, thank you. Bill, thank you. Brian, thank you. Again, appreciate y'all jumping on. I'm going to walk through this at a pretty good clip because remember, we do have support and training, but what I want to show you is something really, really cool, and I think you really enjoy it. So when you do get your login, you just save your URL log. Each group will have their own unique URL with their login. You'll get your name and password, and once you get signed in, what you're going to see is it's going to load your kind of where you are in your sales activity. This does have what is called a CRM Lite baked into the scenario, and it is pretty straightforward. It'll show you kind of where you are. Managers can see all reps in their group. Reps can see your data only. But what this does, it allows you to actually showcase kind of where you are in the process, and it also showcases your accounts, where you are in your accounts as well. So it'll show you all of your live campaigns as well as your campaigns that are ending. So it gives you a 14-day window of what campaigns are ending. So it's hugely valuable to kind of log in and check these things out because it's really great for the renewal side. And then also you're going to have the ability to provide access to a very, very robust and visual analytics for your advertisers. Not only can you set them up in a matter of about 10 seconds, you can actually see if they log in. So this is really great insight to look at what's actually happening in your accounts with your advertisers. So once I get through this scenario, again, everyone's going to have the same look and feel when they log in, different data. What I want to direct you to are the tabs across the top. So everything you see here is very straightforward. The majority of time you're going to spend is in the proposals tab. So let me click the proposals tab here real quick, and I'm going to cover this in pretty good detail. When you click the proposals tab, you'll see all of your proposals. Again, managers get to see all their groups. Then the group, like the RVPs, get to see everything rolled up. But you can see yours. So reps, you'll only see your proposals currently out there. And from this point, this is where you navigate how you interact with existing proposals. So you can edit it. You can even clone one, which I'll get to that in a minute. You can do a quick review of what's in your proposal. You may have some you forget what you actually included. And then this is where you actually download your proposal. So you'll actually download the proposal, which we're going to build here in just a minute, because you can build a custom proposal complete with terrestrial TV schedule in about 5 to 7 minutes all in. It's pretty cool and pretty clever. And then we're going to showcase how the IO is actually started at this point as well. So what I want to do is get started in this because there's some really cool features I want to showcase. So I'm going to jump right into the proposal. So in the upper right-hand corner, you're going to see the new proposal option. I click this, and it's going to throw me into your template. The only thing active on this page are your entry fields. None of these buttons are active over here. This is just a good indication of what digital products are currently included in this product for you. Now, managers, just so you know, you can actually build proposals on behalf of your team and save them so that the proposal follows it all the way through the IO and the rep gets credit for it. Typically, when you log in, it's going to recognize your name. So it'll actually capture your name on Opportunity Owner up here. And then what I want to do is we're going to build I'm going to use Dave Gill Chevy in Columbus. And we're going to choose the 2020 Corvette. If you haven't seen it, you're going to see it here in just a minute. It's pretty cool. And then all I need to do is click on the presentation date and a calendar pops up. So let's say we're going to visit Dave on Thursday. And I select this. So remember, a couple things you want to point out. You want to make sure that spelling's correct and punctuated correctly, because it's going to appear on the actual cover of your proposal. And then I can choose my advertiser industry. So there's about 180 categories here that you can select from, and this helps us frame out how we're going to actually set up the campaigns to begin with. Now, it is contextual, meaning if I type in certain terms, it'll pop up this way. Now, what I want to point out is, as you can see in auto, there's 4 auto selectors, but I also want to point out, if I type in like attorney, it's not going to find attorney. So just so you know, you'd have to type in legal as a good example to come up with that option. So the best we can ask you to do is use the platform. It's kind of fun and it's really intuitive. So I'm going to go back here and you can play around with these selectors and see what's actually in here. So in this case, we're going to sell Chevys, and of the 4 selectors here of parts, used, group, and import, it would be a group domestic solution here, because Chevrolet is a group domestic. So once I have this loaded, you'll see this button highlight. This button will not highlight until these fields are complete. So once I choose continue, this is going to throw me into the product side. And these are the products you currently have available. Let me walk you through these really quickly. So you have display, or you'll also hear it referred to as targeted display. What this provides you a really granular delivery option that you can actually set up ads for. But we've included some new features for you, some keyword search. So this is a combination of both, like a keyword retargeting and an actual keyword search. So it combines both tactics into one delivery option, which is pretty cool. So we can actually scrape keywords off of websites that people are engaged with. And plus, we can also look at keyword strings and terms used to get to third-party sites. As you know, Google and Bing and Yahoo do not sell their search keyword lists, so all that data is captured from a third-party perspective. But you do have this option. And then we have geofencing, and some of you may have not ever used GeoVideo. Same basic concept of geofencing. However, I can serve a video in that delivery if I walk into that fence setup. So pretty clever. Now let's talk about CTV. This is a big category, typically referred to as OTT. You'll hear it. So what's the difference? So OTT, as you know, is the ad delivery in the household through a wireless connection to all devices. So that would primarily be all your small screens, your smartphones, your tablets, your laptops, your desktops. CTV is big screen only. So OTT serves to all devices, including the big screen CTV, but CTV is only going to serve to the big screen. And you have 3 options here. I can do 100% CTV serve. I can do a 90-10, so 90% big screen to 10% typically mobile. And then I can do a 65-35 delivery. Each of these have different price points, and I can only select one for this delivery option. So the default, we have actually tried this for a long period of time, and the 90-10 seemed to be the best delivery option out there. Now, we also have full SEM, that's search engine marketing, or paid search, or pay-per-click, whichever term you prefer. And this is Google-only delivery. So that Google makes up typically anywhere 88 to 90% of all searches anyway, so it's the primary delivery option, but it's Google only. You can include your terrestrial TV schedule, which is pretty clever, which I'm going to show you here in a minute. Now, and inclusive of social. So social is Facebook, Instagram, and Messenger. Now, what I want to showcase first is our television schedule upload. What I want to point out is if I select these options, they're all included. If I deselect the option, a good example, I'll take television off, that whole interface goes away because I'm not going to upload that schedule at this point. But I want to show you how I want to include this. Now, I actually have a schedule from the Denver market, and I can just drag it in, or I can open the file. Either way, I can do it either way. But I'll show you, I can drag my file in. It'll actually load that right into this proposal builder for you. So first and foremost, that's the first thing we want you to do is upload that terrestrial TV schedule. It's all there for you. The system will even build a slide for you on this. It's pretty cool. Now, I'm going to leave everything selected. I don't typically do that for advertisers. They don't typically buy all products, but I want to show you what they look like in the actual platform and in the tool and what slides they actually produce as well. So the next big piece I want to include is my geography or my regions, or how I'm going to set these up. You have 3 options here: regions, radius search, and known zip codes. So a couple of things I want to point out. If you're in larger markets, start with known zip codes, and I'll show you why in a minute. If you're in smaller markets, you can start with regions, or you can even do a radius search. Now, the radius search is going to pick up, if I'm 10 miles outside of what I'm selecting, it's going to pick up every zip code in that 10-mile area. So it doesn't cut it off in the middle of a zip code, just FYI. But I'm going to choose region here, and I'm just going to type in Columbus. And the system's going to pull up all the Columbuses in the US, and there's a bunch of them, right? So you can see, I can scroll down here and I can see all of these. And I typically always choose the city option. You do have DMAs, you do have all these other, like the CCDs and CDPs, which are just different size designations. But the city is really and I'll show you when you include this, what it looks like. So when I choose an actual area, I load the region. Now what it's going to do is actually going to set up that region with all the zip codes currently included in the greater Columbus area. Now, okay, this is pretty cool. That shows pretty well. But what's really cool is it's going to capture all the demographic data in that local area. So this data is a direct census poll. Census is updated every month by 20 governmental agencies. It's required every 10 years, just so you know, that's the difference. And a couple things I want to point out. The blue bars, what that means is you're above the national average in that bucket, in that age bucket as an example, or that income bracket. You can see where it is. And because Columbus is a college town, you'll see a high level of college and grad school and higher incomes, right? So all that means that in these zip codes, I'm above the national average for males in the zip code selected. Now, the other really cool thing about it, the data is interactive. So if I choose my little pencil over here, see the little orange pencil, I can choose that. And when I select that, you'll see pluses and minuses on the screen. This, if I hover over any one of these pluses or minuses, this is actually a zip code. And I can hover over whether it's a plus or a minus. It'll tell me what zip code that is. So this becomes really, really specific in how you actually structure these campaign setups. And again, what Brian talked about initially was that radical transparency. We're not seeing a whole bunch of groups showcase how campaigns are going to be set up, much less how they deliver. So we're going to start with a radical transparency on the front side of campaign setup. And if I remove zips, watch what happened. The data is dynamic. Do you see how the numbers change? So you can see this is pretty, and it shows exceptionally well. And it's a really great thing to offer advertisers to pull up data for them in their zip codes. It's a really nice way to stay on their radar. So you can see it's dynamic, and I can have disparate zip codes. So let's say I wanted to include a zip code over here in Newark. I can certainly do that. They don't have to be connected. And once I have my area selected, I think is a really good solution for what I'm trying to offer here. I can choose the pencil, and you can see what I've included in my zip codes. Now, that's my setup. And this structure is going to dictate typically delivery for a lot of the options. It will include your display component. It will also, your pre-roll component, your CTV component, your SEM component, and your social media component. So all these zip codes will impact all of those tactics. Now, you say, well, Steve, I want to add a geofence. Yeah, we agree. So you can actually break out your geofence delivery. And let me highlight, you can just set up a geofence only campaign. If I do, I just select, I don't choose a region at all. I just go right to the geofence and I can select that scenario. So when I go to the geofence, I choose my little, my very technical term, it's a hamburger. It might look like a hamburger. I click that little hamburger guy. I choose the plus, and then I choose the pin right here where it says edit geofence. And as I add that, it's going to allow me to add geofences. Now, we're using a hyperlocal latitude and longitude based delivery option. So if I type in Dave Gill Chevy, if the advertiser has claimed their name in Google Places, it'll actually populate. Now, just a note, if the advertiser hasn't claimed their address there, it's okay. You can still type in their address and set a fence up around that address. It makes it easier for you to actually type in the name. And I can choose this. It'll actually show me exactly how that fence is going to be structured. It'll show me my lat and longitude setup, and it defaults to a mile. So thanks to our German developer friends, we're in meters here. So 1,600 meters is a mile. So in this case, I'm going to go 800, which is a half a mile. Typically, you can go as low as 400 meters because remember, geofencing is a density-based model. It's based on people walking in that fence. A typical geofencing campaign typically includes anywhere from 7 to 15 fences. So you can have a bunch of fences set up. And if I wanted to include other fences, I just want to include my plus sign right here. So if I typed in, I'll just put an easy one, Starbucks Columbus, because I think they're open now, yay. And you can see I can choose my location here and how that's set up, and I can set that up if I wanted to limit that fence size, specifically where that is, right next to OSU. Now I can continue to do this. I can add all these fences all along the way. Now, the one thing I want to point out is we do have what is called offline visits. You'll also hear this referred to as foot traffic attribution. For other competitors, it's your conversion zone. Yes, you can actually utilize solutions like this, but we have parameters of the best practices of how to do that, which we'll cover a little bit later. So if I did choose that, I want to show you, you can see it will actually change. If I go back into my, it'll actually change the icon. So if I turn it off, turn it on, you'll see how it changes the icon. So I just want to show you that as well. Now, once I get all of my fences set up the way I want to, I just choose, I have to choose this checkbox before I can save it. And then when I save it, it's going to load those geofences right there in the map for me. So you can actually showcase where these are going to be, how these geofencing fences are going to be structured and set up in a campaign. Now, pretty easy so far. Now, the one thing I want to next showcase is the ability of how we actually add what is called behavioral or contextual data. We refer to it as audience interest. So if you look at a little eye guy, you can hover over that. It'll show you what that is, by the way. And this will show me what this is going to impact. Now, notice audience interest does not impact geofencing, right? So this is primarily for those desktop, laptop serves into these products, okay? Now, it will impact your social media serve. So the good news is you have over 800 of these available. So there's a lot of really cool options you have loaded. And in this case, I'm actually selling Corvettes here for the Guild dealership. I can actually drill into a little down arrow and I can actually pick product sets. Now remember, this is a big data scrape. And what big data comes, how it gets the data is every time you go online, all that data is captured. So it knows who you are typically by the sites you visit and the places you go. So it's both behavioral and contextual. Okay, what's the difference? Behavioral is what we've done, places we've actually visited. Contextual is if I'm online and I'm at one of these sites, I'm probably going to go to one of these sites because it becomes predictive. So in this case, I'm selling sports cars. If I visited the Audi site or the BMW site, I know the other sites I'm probably going to visit. I will include Chevy because that's the product, but you can see all of the choices you have here. And remember that, just so you know, that the 2020 Corvette is really designed as that first-time sports car buyer. So they're really going after that first-time sports car enthusiast. And these are the sites they typically visit when they're looking for sports cars. But you can see how many of these things you can choose. And the real advantage here is you can show the value prop to the advertiser, how granular this can become. The good news is this doesn't filter people out. This hyper serves ads. It helps us hyper serve where the folks are that we're trying to reach and where we can serve your ads. So that's the advantage of what this does. Now, the one thing I want to point out, you need 3 to get past this screen. So I can have 3. We've seen up to 15 or 20 pretty common. So, and again, there's lots of choices here that you can include, and you can include some broad reach categories. Like one of the better examples is what is a site that everyone visits? Well, one of the big ones is weather. So I can include weather. If I'm serving to men, sports is typically a big category. If I'm serving to females, I can move into arts and entertainment bucket. So you can see, because these are the sites we typically go to online, and I can drill down into all of these as well. I can choose the major bucket, which would include all of them, or I can drill down into specific types like we showed you in auto, okay? So that's your audience interest scenario. The list of all of these are listed in our Learning Center. We have a Marketron Learning Center, and this will allow you to actually print this doc out. So all the categories are included for you. Now, the next piece I want to showcase is my audience selector. So I'm going to say, okay, who do I want to actually serve these ads to? So this 1.2 million, you'll see in this little ring here, comes right from this list that we selected on the region side. So if I go back to my region side, you'll see here's my 1.357. And I'm going to scroll down and show you that. Here's my 1.357 folks. Now, the primary buyer of this vehicle is typically older men. So I can say men between the ages of 55 and 65 as an example, but typically 65-year-olds are not typically in that market anymore. So they want to reach down to that lower buyer set, that first-time sports car buyer set. So you can see I can select, and what it does to my numbers as I select those, it actually adjusts that audience down for me real time. It's pretty cool. Now, the next thing I want to include is income. Look, this car starts at $60,000, so I'm going to probably need a higher income here. So even if I stayed over 150, I have 16,000 folks I can specifically serve this ad to. If I want to extend that, I want to choose 100 and 150K. So now I have just under 37,000 people. And remember, digital works better the more you target it. So it really provides you a real granularity in how you do it. Now, all of these parameters will also be used in your social setups as well, for your social campaigns, for your pre-roll, and obviously your display campaign. So it becomes pretty simplistic to use. And literally, if I change the data, so if I remove a zip code, watch what happens here. I can edit this. I just want to show you this. It'll change my numbers, and it'll also change these numbers. So everything is connected, and it's all live. Now, the last setup I need to make on this page is my keyword side. So SEM or paid search, it's, the clunkiest thing about it is actually typically building a keyword list. Now, you can use an existing keyword list from an advertiser, but what our recommendation is, let us build one for you, and you can use the best of both worlds. So let me share what I mean. So what I want to do, I just want to go to my advertiser's website. I just want to copy their URL. I just need the first part of it. I don't need the UTM code. And what I want to go through here and just hit the I need help button. So I click the I need help button. It's going to throw me in the category of vehicle shopping. It's like, yep, that's where I want to be. I go next, and it's going to say, okay, what's your advertiser's name? What's their URL? So I click paste. I just drop it right in here. Then it's going to say next, and it's going to say, these are the primary categories that we're providing as suggestions to start with. I'd be like, yeah, that's where I want to go. Now I can add different ideas. There's a lot of things you can do here, but what we do once I hit the get keyword, this is going to do two things. It's going to go out there and scrape the advertiser's website. It's going to capture the lowest cost, highest performing keywords in that geographic area we selected, and it will build a keyword list for you this quickly. So this is directly from the Google API that we have built into this. So it's pulling the data right from Google, just so you know. And this is a really, really good start because these are actual terms used to get to their site, right? So we're not guessing at this point, and they're the lowest price point, the lowest cost of those keywords. Now, a couple things I want to point out. Additionally, we're going to provide you this keyword list, so an additional keyword list. So the reason we do this is if you're in smaller markets, if you have a really small area that you've designated as zip codes and you're trying to do a search, there may not be enough searches for that category to run a campaign at the lowest dollar amount. If you get that error, a red box will pop up, says, hey, you need to expand your geographic area because there's not enough searches that occur. There's a big misnomer that there's unlimited search terms in an area. That's not actually true. There's a certain number of keywords that are being used for this specific types of products in any given market in any given zip code. So there is a limit to the keywords. So that's why that happens if you're in smaller markets. So if you get that error, that's what that means. You just have to expand your area a little bit. But that's all I have to do. This is my setup for this page. It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty cool and fun. And my next point is I'm going to move right into my budgeting page. Now, a couple things as this is loading, I want to point out. All the data on these pages are client facing. So all of the costs are already included in these numbers. So there's no concern about seeing the advertiser seeing this page or not seeing this page. It's all included and baked in. Now, I want to show you two things. I'm going to talk about this reach and frequency calculator here in just a minute, but you have two budgets. I can include one budget or two budgets. We see a higher close rate with two budgets, just so you know. I can label these. So if I want to call this my starter budget, I want to call this my advanced budget, you can do that as well. And you can change your duration right here. So just so you know, you can run sub 1 month campaigns like on heavy ups with management approval. You just list the 1 month in the IO notes. We tell us how long we want this campaign to run for, like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So those can still happen. The majority of campaigns we run today are 3 months in duration. That's still the norm. We have seen a big uptick in 6 and 12 month campaigns recently because of the data coming out of the platform. That's pretty encouraging. And then all of these work exactly the same way. These tiles, if you will, it'll default. These numbers are not predictive, meaning the system doesn't predict what these numbers ought to be. These are just the default numbers in the platform. So, but I can click the tile and you'll see it's going to allow me to actually edit these numbers. Now, you have floors, and these floors are the number you can sell down to. Management can override the floor on any campaign 24/7. So if they buy a big TV schedule and you want a lower CPM price for this tactic, yes, you can get that approval through your managers, and managers can actually change that price point for you. In this case, this reach and frequency is attached to display and pre-roll only. These are the only two tactics attached to reach and frequency. This does not include reach and frequency for the TV schedule. This is only for display and pre-roll. So there is no reach and frequency calculation for geofencing or geovideo and not attached to your CTV. There's none for that for SEM, and it's not that capacity for social. So it's only these two tactics. And as I change these numbers, you'll see what I mean. So if I change this to $2,000 and I click off it, you'll see this number jump up here to 8.6. And what that means is the audience, we're going to, in the starter budget, 94% of the audience we selected are going to see that ad 8.6 times over the course of that 3 months. So this is just a really good guide to help you in structuring what these campaigns ought to run, what they ought to include. Because look, this works just like anything else. You know, reach and frequency in advertising is a real big issue. So we still see a lot of digital campaigns that the reach and frequency is like a 2 or 3 times factor. Save your money. They don't really work that well. In fact, if they work at all. So this provides guidance to you as a professional seller, but also guidance to the advertiser to say, hey, look, we're not, this is the numbers. These numbers need to be typically an 8+ factor to actually have any impact. Now, the creative messaging will have impact on how campaigns perform. We all know that, but this is an important distinction we want to point out to you. Now, because I chose that keyword search retargeting CPM, it threw this cost in here. So this is where that total CPM comes from, because we're going to use those 2 additional tactics at keyword search, which remember, it combines keyword targeting plus search term targeting from third-party sites. And you can include that in here as well. It'll show me how many impressions I have for that money. And as I change these numbers, that impression count changes. So pretty clever. So let's say I want to make this 3,500. You'll see it jump to 233,000. It's a little small on the screen, but it does make the adjustment. And then, again, that's how all of these tiles work. I can set up my geofencing the same way. Now, one more thing about display, this does include site retargeting automatically. There's no additional cost for site retargeting. And site retargeting is anyone, they click the ad, they land on the page, we can drop that pixel on that IP and follow that user around on the web and serve your ad to those folks as they're online. That's site retargeting, and that's included. Okay, now, we also have in geofencing, again, same factor. This will not impact my reach and frequency as I change these numbers. So let's say I want to make this $1,200 and I'll make this $2,400. And what this does, it's a flat impression serve. I can include retargeting in these tactics. So you can see if I choose the retargeting, it'll add that additional $3. That is an option you have on these campaigns, is adding retargeting to both geofencing and geovideo. Now, pre-roll will impact my reach and frequency. So as I change these numbers, let's say I want to do 2,000 and I'll make this one 4,000. You'll see it will change my reach and frequency numbers. Again, this is a video serve. We added that keyword search parameter, so it threw that extra $3 in. Again, if I want to take that off, I go back to my first screen and just deselect it at the top of the page. It'll take it out, and these fields will actually disappear in your budgeting page. Continuing down, you understand geovideo. Again, same basic concept. I can add retargeting or not, and I can change my impression count and delivery or not. Now, here's my CTV delivery. What I like about this will showcase how many impressions I'm going to get for that existing dollar. So that $800 is going to drive 22,857 impressions. And if I change this, let's say we have a bigger CTV budget here. I'll do 2,000 and 3,000. You'll see it'll actually change the impression counts. So it'll show me how many impressions per month that will deliver. And this delivery, remember, is 90% to the big screen, 10% to mobile. And I'll show you how we can showcase that on the reporting side. Okay, now SEM works just as, now what's really great about it, this will actually showcase what percentage. So you can actually work with the advertiser to say, hey, look, how many clicks do you need? Because this is actually predictive. It'll tell me how many percentage of the market I get for that budget and how many clicks I receive as well. This is one of my favorite things. Social is a straight setup. So the setup is on the IO side, which we'll explain. There's 3 basic parameters that you set a social campaign up. This is primarily going to drive awareness and consideration. in Facebook, Instagram, and Messenger. So I don't get any impression count here because I don't know yet which tactic I'm going to set up. That's set up in the IO. So I can just set up 1,000 and I can make this 1,200. Now you get 3 free-form fields here. Monthly fees. I can include, for example, I'm going to include email, which I'm going to show you here in a minute because that's also baked into this. I'm going to show you email and say we're going to do email campaign for 800 and then we'll do another one for 1,600. I can include other factors. I can include things like run a site and those kind of things. So if I typed in run a site, which I'm going to serve the ads that we're serving on these other two on your properties, let's say I'm going to give you a deal at $400 on this just to get you as a promo. So I have 3 of those. It'll capture my monthly reoccurring. It'll bring my TV schedule forward, and it also gives me a one-time fee. Typically, one-time fees that we're seeing are like video production. So I'll just do video prod. And I'll say that's a flat fee. We'll call it $3,500 across for both. So that's only going to calculate that into one time. Once I'm happy with my structure, my budget, I choose next, and it moves me right into a finished proposal this quickly. Now I need to speed up here a little bit because I'm going to run out of time, but you can see the power of the product is pretty palpable. So it'll break out how this campaign is structured. It'll showcase all the tools and tactics included. It'll break out my target geography and the makeup of that geography. It'll actually start building slides for you and this is display and pre-roll. It'll even give you a sample site list here in the beginning. It shows you the reach and frequency and what we're trying to accomplish. Here's my my keyword search retargeting because I chose that option. If I didn't choose that option, it will not include that slide. Here's my geofencing. It'll list out my geofences. It'll give me an overview of CTV because we included that. And here's my keyword list for search engine marketing. Not only is it going to give me my starter kit, it's going to give me all my initial keywords here, and I'll show you here in a minute. And then it's going to include my social and a breakout of what social includes and an overview historically of what is happening. It'll capture the first 10 options you select in your targeted interests. And then it'll actually even build a very high level television schedule. It'll take that XML and parse that data. The more lines I see is more spots running that date and time. Now, here's my client facing page, all of my tactics included, all broken out by price, immediately signable. And you see there's 2 pages here. Here's my starter. If I hit page 2, there's my advanced. All of these will print out. Now, zip codes, again, back to that radical transparency all the way through. We're going to show you everything we're doing in the campaign, inclusive of your keywords. So I see a full keyword listing that I can print out here. Here's page 1, there's page 2. But wait, if you buy the Ginsu knives, we're going to give you the frying pans. You can add some other things. You can put anything in the platform via this custom layout. All you have to do is save it as a JPEG or a PNG. So if you have an existing slide you like or an existing overview of product or some other thing, you can take anything and save it as a JPEG or PNG, and I can load it right into this slide. So I click the image. I already have my image of my Corvette that I just saved it right off the website. And then I add it, and you can see, and I can put Dave Gill as an example, 2020 Corvette Supercenter, right? So you can make how you can customize these slides. And when I'm happy with these slides, and again, I can drag this, if I want to drag this to the front of the deck or put it anywhere I want to, you can move any slide around. When I save and exit, it's going to finish this proposal for me. It's going to save it into my proposal view. And here is my proposal. So what I want to show you is the download option. I can download this proposal right into a PDF, and it is immediately client facing. So there's so many things this can do for you, and it's so fast, and all the tactics are included. It is a really full stack digital offering. And so you can see, here's my completed proposal. Again, it will be branded typically to your dominant call stations letters. So you'll see how this is run, but you see it's a really nice looking document. Okay. And then I want to show you that custom slide I built real quickly. There's that. So you see how well it renders in this, in the proposal slide. Now, if you want to make changes to the proposal, don't edit the PDF. You just go right into your submitted proposals, right into the edit feature, Open it back up again, jump right to the page and change you want to make. It's all dynamic. It'll update for you automatically. Save it again, download again. It's really quick. That's the proposal side. It's pretty clever. Okay, let me show you the other big player in this arena. There's other functions and features we'll get to later in trainings, but I want to show you the two big ones. Proposal build is one, analytics is the other one. Fully visual analytics capabilities. You have the capacity to actually showcase and set up an advertiser, not only to see exactly what you're seeing here, you have access to this 24/7, and so can the advertiser. Each of these are broken out by tactic. Here's a summary of the campaign data, and then it moves right into these specific tactics. I'm going to go quickly, but I just want to show you some highlights. As you move through here, in your display component, one of the big things we added all the standard data that you can include, including engagements, which are view-throughs and ad interactions. So those are included as well. But we have live screenshot capabilities. One of the big questions you're going to get is, I never saw my ad run. These are actual screenshots that are captured in the platform that you can click on this and you can see the ad on the site and its date and timestamp. So you can immediately use that for co-op. Advertisers love this feature. This is a real big one to show. And all of these function features work the same way. All these tabs work the same way. You can see performance by placement. When I hit anywhere I see a download arrow like this, I select it, and it's going to allow me to open up and see every site every day. So we're not going to hide any data. Here's my download list, and there's over 700 sites on here that we'll be able to showcase where your ad ran. So that brand safety is hugely valuable, but we're not hiding any data throughout the process. We use what we call a premium site list. So the ads on here have all been vetted and whitelisted, and they're all follow advanced security protocols to validate that the people, if they're on the sites clicking it, they're actually people, they're not robots. So again, all of these functions work the same way, including the really cool ones like connected TV. You can see where I can showcase performance by day. I can scroll up performance by platform, and I can see all of my networks as a completion rate right in this view. That's pretty high. You can see it's pretty clever. Okay, the last thing I want to show you is the SEM. We can actually showcase the SEM delivery through the platform as well as through the Google Analytics of the customer based on request. It'll capture all of their ad group data. It'll even capture your call performance. So you can actually see the call performance by day in this deal. Again, all the keywords are downloadable, all the data is downloadable, everything is 100% transparent. So let me jump back and just show you two more things. If you want to set up an advertiser with their own, I just click register analytics, and I can actually load it up right here, and you can literally set them up in a matter of seconds to receive their own reports. Just remember to choose the right advertiser when you select this. So you put in their name and address, email, but just make sure you choose the right advertiser as an advertiser selector. And then the email component is actually in this tab as well, where I can actually request emails right from the view. I can actually pull a count. I can enter my data very cleanly and clearly and get a response back really quickly. So everything is right at your fingertips of how you want to actually set campaigns up. All right, so I know there's a lot more features here, but we're going to run out of time. So Bill, I'm going to turn it back to you, and stop sharing here real quick.
Okay, Steve, very good. Can you hear me?
Sure can.
Okay. All right, let me get the screen back going. I wanted to share with everybody, we have an active chat room. That's great. Continue to type in your questions. We'll answer as many as we can during the call. Know that we do have an FAQ OneDrive document where we are taking all of the chat questions and putting them in there. We actually put a link to that you can copy and paste and look at that FAQ. Most likely that many of these questions have already been asked and are in the FAQ, but regardless, if you can't find them, please drop them in there. Steve, I think you're going to go through a couple of other ideas regarding Marketron proposal and IO workflow, right?
Yes, sir. So just real quickly for the team, the biggest thing you have to do is once you build your proposal and an advertiser says yes, you just have to let your DSM or IDS know what the proposal name is and which budget they want. So they have two budgets like starter or advanced, just tell them which one, and then include the checklist. And these are, if you go to the next slide, you'll see once you include these relevant data points, this is it. So a couple things I want to point out. Your flight dates are pretty standard. Your landing URL, that's pretty standard. Your creative, that's all pretty standard stuff. Now, if you want us to build it, you can include your images and assets, and we can include creative as well. There is an extra charge for that, but that's all we need to really understand to push this through to your internal team, your managers, to actually initiate the IO. So it's pretty clear and pretty clean. That email is your date and time stamp and when you submit, as you make that request.
Steve, thank you so much for the live demo. We appreciate the information, and just wanted to remind everybody on the phone, we're going to continue to have different types of training for everyone. This is not an OTO. It's not a one-time opportunity. This is an overview of what you have. This is being recorded. We'll be sending out the recording for you to review it at your leisure, but we'll also have other training dates. And speaking about training dates and support, JB, you have a few things you'd like to share.
Yeah, please. Thanks, Bill. And thanks, Steve, for the demo. And just can't reiterate enough that, you know, today is day one for your DSMs and IDS, maybe day two for them in terms of a walkthrough and a demonstration. But, you know, what we hope you took away from here is the number of products that are all included there within your pitch platform. All of your markets were set up in advance. So user names came from Wide Orbit, and you know we've uploaded those. There may be some additions, some revisions that are necessary. Your DSM though will have your username, password, all of that set up. The URL you need to hit, bookmark it, keep it, and you'll start using it right away. But you know what we hope you saw there, and what we hope you'll see, and we're really confident you'll see as you begin using it, is all products in a single platform, detailed reporting, a simple presentation, all there. I think there was a question about, can you provide access to the reporting to your advertisers? That is a permission you're able to set up there. And then if you back up to the sales activity slot or sales activity screen that you log into, you'll actually be able to audit and see if that advertiser has logged in and when the last time they logged in to check on their campaign. Everything you saw there, you'll have, and you'll have that transparency, the reporting, the pricing, all of that's built in there. Bill will walk through pricing in a little bit, so I won't touch on that too much right now, but just know, you know, everything's been set up there for you to get started and then start asking questions specific to your markets. All of the screenshot technology in there, view through tracking, creative comparison, A/B testing. And then there's a digital lift case study that can also be enabled. We'll do some additional training on that, but you know, if you've had agencies or buyers, direct, you know, or local, regional, national, say they just weren't sure if that campaign worked, or they're not sure if it's working along the way, we think digital lift can help you capitalize on that as well. Next, you know, we'll keep going through the end of the month here, up until your deadline to migrate everything, and then certainly communicating as needed. Client services and support here, your instance, and this is new for all of you, whether you've been a pitch client or not. There's a new feature called Campaign Edit that we think you're really going to like, that will allow you to revise a live campaign, make a creative swap, pause, do some of the things that are typically ticket-based systems in the past. You'll be able to do a lot more of that actually in the instance now and from your desks. Dustin and Andrew and others will be supporting from the CDM side. And then for pre-sale support, pitch at Marketron, and then for post-sale support, help desk at brandcdn.com. Those are your ticketing and quick direct email inquiries. Right now, the pre-sale support is probably your best one to use, and we'll all be keeping eyes on that. The MLC is your online learning center. There will be videos, tutorials, how-tos, all of that loaded. We're in the process of getting all of your emails confirmed since we had some changes, but the MLC access will be granted here shortly. And then, of course, there's emergency after-hours support available. We're scattered through time zones, predominantly Mountain and Pacific. So, you know, we will be there for East Coast, of course, but it also does mean we're there a little bit later throughout the day as well.
Okay, JB and Steve, thank you so much. We appreciate all your information. We've got about 20 more minutes that we're going to spend with all the account executives on the line here. If you can give us just about 20 more minutes of time, that would be great. We did talk about rates. So let me share with you on the screen the default floor rates as well as the suggested default retail CPMs. So everything in the yellow here, your local market managers, your GSM, LSM can set at the local level. These are the default rates that are in the system now. These are the default floor rates, meaning an account executive with display CPM can negotiate an extended reach display ad campaign between $8 CPM and $12 CPM. Now, we're not going to go through each one of these lines here. Your DSM and your IDS have access to this information as well. But dropping down here to video, the default rate between 18 and 24. So certainly start at 24 with your local clients, and you can negotiate down to 18, let's say, if indeed that is the floor and the default retail CPM set by your local market. There's connected TV at 30 and 40. Here is the 90-10 blend of connected TV and OTT, 90% on large screen, 10% on small screen, and then there's a 65-35 blend, and you can see that those CPMs vary there. Moving on to some of the other rates here for email. Currently, the suggested default retail CPM is $25, and then for open postal file listings, that is also $25 CPM. The thing you need to understand regarding search and social, it's not based on a CPM basis. These are flat rates. So regarding an SEM campaign under $5,000, there's a $150 management fee per month per campaign that Marketron receives, plus 25% of the media spend. So let's say you have a $1,000 SEM campaign. Essentially, $150 goes to Marketron, and then of the $1,000, $250 is what's carved out for your work and what you're doing, and that is the portion of which profit goes to the local station. Same scenario with SEM over 5,000, and the same scenario as you can see with social media ads under and over $5,000. We try to keep it all consistent and the same. You cannot change the 25% of media spend at the local level. That is the default flat rate fee, and there's no marking up the management fee. A couple other things we want to share with you just very quickly before we go to Mitch and Megan. We put some slides in here that give you some bullet points on the various features and benefits of each of our products. Here's targeted display and geofencing, some verbiage and some sales material, if you will, that you can copy and paste and put it into your own sales material at the local level regarding digital video. Here's a little bit on SEM and social media in terms of Facebook, Instagram, and Messenger. Connected TV, some bullet points there regarding that, and some information regarding email itself. So again, all this stuff is pretty self-explanatory, and we will get some more chat questions here. We'll certainly try to answer some of those at the end of today's presentation. So up next here is Mitch West. I believe Mitch is out there. There's Mitch. Mitch, let me check your audio real quick. Oh, no, need your audio. Got to hit unmute there, sir.
Okay. There we go. How am I doing?
Yeah,
good.
Very good, very good. And let's check Megan. Let's see if Megan's audio is working.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we sure can. Hey, Megan, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you, Bill?
Great. Well, you know, Steve took us through a demo of Marketron. What we wanted to do is spend some time with Mitch and Megan about how it's used on the ground, how it's used at a local station, how you as an account executive can utilize this to close sales. So with that, Mitch, I'll turn it over to you. I'll turn off my video and Megan can turn hers on, and you guys can go through how you use it. Megan, I'll pass the presentation tools to you here in just a minute.
That's
Well,
good.
hey, everyone, thank you for giving us a few minutes of your time today. We're very excited about Marketron Pitch. All of my markets are legacy Tribune stations. So I've been working directly with these markets for the last 6 months. And I have to tell you, this is one of the most sophisticated programs and platforms. It's intuitive, it's easy to work with, and Megan is going to show you just how easy that is to close business. As we launch into her presentation, Megan is the digital sales manager at the storied WGN TV in Chicago. She does a fantastic job of walking clients through the transparency level that is available through Marketron. As a matter of fact, 2 weeks ago, we did a presentation just like this, which is a forward-facing, client-facing presentation of Marketron Pitch, of course, under the WGN branding. And we were able to secure $25,000 from that publisher. Megan, can you share just a little of that success? And then I'll hand this over for you to begin your demonstration.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, I think what this really comes down to is, you know, like we touched on, kind of the concept of radical transparency. And often, you know, when clients get a look at kind of all of the bells and whistles that come along with Marketron from, you know, the initial setup point, that kind of initial, you know, the planning and pitch software, to the actual, the reporting portion, the analytics screen, clients just end up being so impressed by all of that, that when you kind of take it and you make it a collaborative process going back and forth to do all of the planning and take them step by step through the platform, it's easy for them to actually start picturing the way they can use this software in their marketing mix. So you know, it's just been such a good platform for us, and it's changed a lot of the way that we are positioning agency services kind of in our product mix. So what I'm going to do here is just walk really quickly through this. Obviously, everybody just saw this from that awesome demonstration, and you'll notice a couple of differences in my platform compared to the one that you'll all be receiving. I've actually had Pitch since April of last year, so I have one of the older versions of it, but for the most part, all the functionality is the same. And what I'm going to do is just kind of give you some ideas of the way that this can fit into your conversation with clients. Now, what's super, super unique for us is that when we first got this software, we were kind of using it in a very traditional way, where we would go through all of these steps on our own, put together all of our proposals, and then send the proposals to the client. And while that was awesome because the proposals were beautiful and had a lot of detail, I kind of found that clients were more impressed when they could actually see the platform themselves. So I started bringing my laptop along on sales calls and doing this actual pitch platform with a client, going back and forth, answering questions real time, showing them exactly how everything works. And it ended up being wildly successful for us. So all of the salespeople that are on the call, my AEs, and then also all of the DSMs, I am showing this to you. Believe me, this is going to make your life so easy when you get the hang of it. Putting together a proposal takes about 5 minutes, and it just makes everything go so seamlessly. So what's great is that when you actually start, you can take the opportunity right up here at the top to start asking these really triggering questions for these clients, these trigger point questions that are going to kind of uncover some opportunity or give you an opportunity to really engage with people. So, you know, up here, I always take the opportunity to give a brief overview of what each product is or what it does or why I think that it fits super well into their product mix. So by the time we're actually getting into the planning, they already understand the context a little bit. Coming down into the geography screen, this is where I start talking about our audience selection. And what I do is I call this our big picture. So you noticed as you went in on the demo, you saw that you could actually select out your geos and get really specific about it. I'm based in Chicago, so I'm going to use Chicago as an example here. But what I usually will say to clients is, you know, we know what your service area is. You know what your area is, but how much more concise can we get? Can we narrow down all of these zips so that we are only focusing in on certain areas that have populations that matter to us, whether that's areas with a high household income, you know, a high concentration of a certain age group? It doesn't matter. It kind of depends on what your client's goals are. And I always point out to them, watch as I click through this and watch as this data changes. As they're starting to see the way it narrows down, they start to understand like, oh, okay, this is a very efficient process for me. And I usually will go through and I'll kind of point this out. I always make mention of the fact that it's census data. I think one of the things that we as digital sellers are constantly working against is the intangibility of digital. We all have clients that have had bad experiences or who are distrustful or just don't quite understand how it works. When they're coming in here, everybody knows what census data is and it makes sense to them. And as you adjust it, as they see it being manipulated, it starts to actually make sense in a real and tangible way, which I think is half the battle. So I'll usually say something along the lines of, we've got our geo selected out. We'll say for the sake of argument that we're happy with that big picture element. And that's when we start coming down and saying, let's narrow this audience down even further. Let's figure out exactly who that key audience member is, the person that's most likely to need your product or service. Where are they? What are they doing online? How do we select them? And from a sales standpoint, what's great is that, you know, at this point, by the time you're demoing this, you've probably already done your needs analysis, but this is going to help you understand even more about the kind of information your client has about their clients. So you're going to understand a little bit more about exactly who it is that is likely to convert. And as you're kind of talking through this, you can take the liberty of going through here and using your industry expertise and saying, hey, this is where I think your audience is going to be. And as you're wandering through and saying, hey, if I'm trying to sell cars to, let's say, a high income audience, I might be interested in financial planning. I might be interested in any number of things. And as you're walking through and as you're adding them and making assumptions, your clients will start working with you and will start saying, you know, this is what I know about people who are purchasing. And so what it's doing is then not only increasing the efficiency of your campaign, but opening up that dialogue with your client. And again, what really, really makes the difference is them seeing this data in action. It's not us saying, hey, we're going to target this and then telling them that we're doing it. It's them seeing the targets actually being put into the system that I think gives them a really big kind of breather. It's a big, you know, reassurance piece here. And then here is kind of where we say, all right, so we're happy with all of our behavior targets. We're happy with all of our geos and all of this. At this point, the audience is starting to kind of have this campaign, or our client is already starting to have this campaign take shape in their head. And I come over here and I say, pay attention to these numbers over here. We know what our big picture looks like. Now, how many people do we actually want to reach? So if we know that our audience is primarily male 18 to 54, for example, we might know that they have a household income over 150,000, whatever it might be, depending on who that client is. Your client's eyes are gonna pop out of their heads as they're watching this number, because we went from having an audience size, that big picture size of 2.6 million down to 5,800. What does that mean? That makes that number completely manageable for your client. Obviously, it totally depends on what your audience looks like and what your geo looks like and all of that. But this is a number that a client can actually wrap their heads around. So then they start thinking, okay, like this is doable for me. I like the way this sounds. And we all know as sellers that one of the next big questions that we're going to get is, well, how much is it going to cost me to make this effective? What do I need to actually invest in this? This all sounds great, but what's my bottom line? So when I'm doing this with clients, I'll do that whole first target screen with them, and then I'm going to do the budget with them too, because I want them to know that I have their best interests at heart. I want this concept of radical transparency with them. I want them to see that their investment is working really, really hard to get their message out there in a pointed way. I come in here, I'll edit my CPMs right in front of them, I'll do my rates, and I make the point of campaign longevity here. Now, as sellers, we know the longer the campaign, the better. The longer that advertising has out there, the higher that reach and frequency is going to be. And oftentimes we have clients that just want to test it for a month or 2 months or whatever whatever it is. This is the perfect tool to assist you in not leaving money on the table, because you can show a client, all right, you want to test it for a month. We've got our product mix here. That looks great. But look at what my reach and frequency is at 1 month versus 3 or versus 6. And these are the conversations that before, what was it? It was had via email or over the phone maybe, and you'd always have to say, okay, I'm going to go back to the drawing board and bring you another proposal. Well, now you can actually show the client right in front of their faces that this is exactly what their media budget is going to get. Once they've decided that they're happy with their budget, or once I have demoed this to my preferred extent, I will come down and I will actually show the client the proposal. And I'll say something along the lines of, now this is where you usually will come into the mix, and you'll usually have this beautiful presentation sitting for you in your inbox. But I like to walk through it really quickly and call their attention to a couple of key details. Now this, again, as an aside from a seller's perspective, is awesome. Touching on this slide library and the ability to customize slides, I've actually converted all of my one sheets for my core products into image files that can be loaded into your slide library. So you can definitely make your proposals multi-platform, including both core and agency services. So if you've got a good product mix, there's always that opportunity to include it. When I'm working with clients, I come down and I will kind of walk through it and I show them, like, this is your big picture. Remember, this is our census data. But then I come down here, and we know that clients constantly are asking things like, where did my ads actually serve? How can I make sure that things are actually running the way I want them to? And I will start calling out to them, okay, remember, we put those targets in there. We selected all of those interests. And this is where the system thinks we're going to actually find those audience members. And it really makes a difference to call their attention to the ones that they recognize. NBA.com is a big one, weather.com, Wall Street Journal. What it's doing is, one, it's reassuring them of the fact that it's a brand safe environment for all of their ads to be running in. And two, it's actually showing them the quality of our inventory. It's lending credibility to the package that we're presenting to them by saying, I'm going to serve your ads on wallstreetjournal.com, not some random blog site where it's going to serve below the fold for a pixel and count as an impression. This is good quality inventory, and they're able to see that right off the bat, which makes a huge difference. So walking through this is usually enough to get a client very interested. It's usually enough for them to start saying, how do I apply this to my business, and what are the ideas that you have for me? A couple of the other steps that I might take, I will actually show them how I generate an IO in this system. I'll come back here, click on save and exit. And then when it comes up, you can just click on create IO. This will pop up and it'll take all of the information you put in there, create an IO. And I show that to the client because another thing that they like to know is that things aren't going to start slipping through the cracks. And then we walk through the analytics software together as well. And as you kind of go through your trainings and you start learning about each of these metrics, you'll understand that one of the beautiful things about this is that it goes so far beyond impressions and clicks, which are those traditional metrics. It's what we've always been limited to. But what you're doing is actually showing clients a full life cycle of a campaign, from actual initial impression serving all the way through the ability to track a conversion point. And honestly, that just blows the entire campaign wide open for everybody. It answers every single question and every single objection that your client might have. There's virtually 1 million points right here in this pitch software that can counter every single one of them. So I can tell you, again, from a sales standpoint, here in Chicago, just since we've had this software, we've closed about $900,000 in advertising. Our biggest one to date was a $140,000 connected TV buy that went to the Illinois Department of Transportation. Essentially, we get these big dollar price tag investments because we're able to go in and really show them kind of the ins and outs of all of these campaigns. And it's gotten to the point that we actually have agencies that ask us, like, hey, can I just buy this software from you? I mean, the answer is always no, of course, but it's very impressive, even in a super competitive digital landscape. It's it's a very strong tool, and I'm super excited for everybody to make use of it to the same degree I have.